everyone, Joe Vitale here at Vitale Wealth Management with this week's Grading Investment Market Update. All information is gathered as of the week of August the 18th, 2025. Let's get into the week in review. Major U.S. indexes posted another positive week, with the S&P 500 up almost 1%, the NASDAQ 0.83%, and the Dow Jones 1.8%. Value stocks, which is the Russell 1000, outpaced growth stocks, which is the Russell Growth. The Russell Value, Russell Growth, now gaining 1.38% and 0.68% respectively. Now, international equities also remain strong. The EFA climbed 2.37%, but the MSCI gained 1.56%. Now, small caps were a standout performer at the Russell 2000, jumped 3.12 on the week, outperforming large caps by a wide margin. We have seen the small caps really lackluster over the last couple of years. So it's nice to see that we were waiting for them to come back. It's nice to see them coming back a little bit. Upcoming economic releases this week will be lighter on economic data with a focus on housing and federal insight. On Tuesday, today, the housing starts will be released, offering a closer look at the health of the housing market. On Wednesday, so tomorrow, the FOMC minutes from the July meeting will be published, providing additional perspective on the Fed's decision-making process. We are hoping to see the Fed lower rates next in September at the meeting. I know they should have been lowering already. We're seeing inflation data come in as expected or lesser than expected, so that is encouraging. Let's talk about the market outlook. Last week's inflation reports painted a mixed picture of persistent price pressures. The CPI came in below expectations at 2.7 as opposed to 8, though higher tariffs appear to be driving faster price increases in certain categories. Meanwhile, the PPI, which is for the producer side, measures inflation on a wholesale basis, climbed 3.3%, which is the sharpest gain in 5 months, highlighting the tariff-driven cost pressures as remaining a risk. So we are going to see a little bit of that trickle down, but not as bad. They still have to see it all shake out. Combined with signs of a softer labor market, these data points pushed market expectations for a September rate cut above 80%. With the economy showing resilience, a rate cut could help broad market leadership. So the market, I think, is ready for a big coming out, even more so, but we need to see the rates come down to spur buying and to spur people selling their houses and moving. Now, this week's attention shifts to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where the Federal Reserve will hold its annual 3-day economic policy symposium. Fed Chair Jerome Powell is scheduled to speak on Friday, and markets will be watching closely for clues on the Fed's September meeting and the likelihood of a rate cut, which it should happen. As I said, an 80% chance it's going to happen. We need to see that. We need to see the housing market because it's a little soft right now. Recent activity. There was trade activity in the Core Select last week. In the following, they sold into it and they bought Martin Marietta Metals. That was it for that. Stocks in the news. JD.com, which is owned in the G40I. The Chinese retailer reported earnings that beat last week, and management highlighted that its new food delivery arm is gaining traction and driving traffic into core business. However, rising competition on ongoing margin pressures remained, and the shares gained 1.67% for the week. So that's the G40A we've been talking about a lot lately. That's a very good portfolio for international big companies. And then there's ON, which is a semiconductor corporation owned in the contrarian choice. The company beat earnings expectations last week, but continued margin pressure with a negative point. Nevertheless, the shares are up 8.47% for the week. The contrarian choice was pretty good right after COVID, but it's been a little lackluster. So we were in that pretty strong, but there have been some better opportunities for that kind of risk. So that's it. That concludes this week's market summary. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the Vitale Wealth family. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you know the number, 855-756-5700, or visit us at vitalewealth.com. And that's it for this week. We'll see you again next week. God bless you. Have a good one.